Hello everyone, Sandi here, and welcome back to this little video series that I'm making called Exploring the Enchanted Forest. And in this series we are going through the Forest of Enchantment Tarot and comparing it card by card with the Smith-Waite Tarot. And we are reading from both this big guidebook written by Linnea Weatherstone, and comparing it to this little white book that's come with this version of the Smith-Waite Tarot, called the Tarot of A.E. Waite, and this little guidebook is written by Rachel Pollack. So it's been a little while now since I last filmed a video for this series, so I'm really excited and eager to get cracking. Really, I've really missed going into and looking at these cards, so I'm really excited for this episode. Please, if you haven't seen the previous episodes, I do recommend going to the start. I will link the playlist up here, so that you can jump straight into the first episode if that's what you would want to do. So let's get started. Now, for this episode, I'm actually a bit more prepared than usual. I've marked up the places where I can find the different suits in this book, so I don't have to search so much. And here is the first page. In this episode we are going to go through the 5s and the 6s. And I've also actually picked out all of the cards for this episode, just so that I can more easily show you details and stuff from the cards. So let's have a look here at what Linnea has to say about the 5s. After the pause of the 4s, the 5s get things moving again. In the tales of the forest, the 5s are the point at which the plot thickens. Your response will determine what happens next. The 5 of spells says you must increase your skills. The 5 of visions says you must face disappointment. The 5 of challenges says you must choose your battles. And the 5 of boons says you must ask for help. All right. So, the first card here is the 5 of spells, which we can see here. Hang on, is it a bit dark in here? Oh, that's not going to help much, is it? So the first card we have is the 5 of spells, and we see here, let me also bring in we see here a what looks like a gang of wizards or magical practitioners playing about in the forest, turning each other into frogs. And here's one very miserable looking guy. I don't know if that's gonna zoom in very well. Hang on, here's one very miserable looking little guy. Why is this suddenly not zooming? Oh, anyway. Let's look in the book instead. Maybe I had the right idea from the first. Yeah, look at him. He looks very sad over there at the tree. He was turned into a half man, half frog. And I just realized I've done this completely the opposite way, the way I usually do it. So here in the Smith-Waite, we've got 5 young men eager to prove their stamina and strength. I assume they are fighting each other with very large, very large branches or sticks, and you know, since they're sticks and not actual swords, you get the feeling that it's not. It's like a play fight, or maybe they are training or something like that. So you get the feeling it's not altogether that too serious. But, you know, in reality, if you were to hit somebody with this it's almost as thick as a log, a very thick branch. If you were to hit somebody over the head with that, it would definitely cause some damage. So it's more like a baseball bat in the, you know, thickness of it, I think. Anyway, that's besides the point. Let's read here what Linnea has to say about the 5 of Spells. A few students from the Woodland Wizarding School have come out to work on their transformation spells, and toady hilarity ensues. Though to us as onlookers, the scene is humorous. These toad boys are deadly serious about their mock battle. They are learning their craft, exercising their powers, and refining their skills through camaraderie competition. Each wants to be the best, and that spurs the others on to greater glory. These young wizards do know what they are doing in terms of the spell itself, but magic is still an effort at this stage. With practice, they will soon move on to more challenging sorcery. Makers of magic know they can reach new levels of achievement with a little healthy competition. The trick is to keep it light and friendly, not devolve into a fight, which can be especially dangerous when wizardry is involved. Find ways to engage with your fellow wizards through playfulness and encouragement. Meaning at a glance: friendly competition, striving for excellence, healthy rivalry, learning from mistakes. A closer look: the wizard professors make the students work out their magical errors on their own, which means some young half-toads may have trouble holding their forks at dinner. Oh dear. That's funny. Alright. And then let's compare that to the little white book from the Smith Waite. 5 of Wands. From the joyous 4, the energy shifts once again to competition. Compare this image to the solitary 3. Fire contains a strong individualist streak. It wants to strive to take on new things. Even the end of the old world becomes an exciting opportunity. All the 5s show struggle or hardship, but the Wands turns to that harsh energy into an exciting battle to do new things. 5 young men either fight with sticks or try to build something. If a fight, no one really wants to hurt anyone, just to let loose some pent-up energy, like boys play fighting. But if they are trying to actually accomplish something, especially build something new in the midst of breakdown, then the lack of a leader can mean chaos. In the idea of tarot as prophecy, this card can indicate the first steps to rebuild the world. Optimistic, full of life, yet clumsy and without direction. Divinatory meanings: struggle, competition, even fighting, but all of it with a positive attitude, an energetic atmosphere at work or with a group of people. Okay. So I do feel that we have a very similar energy here between these two cards. This one feels a bit more serious, but I think that's because of, the humoristic element of this, where these little boys are being turned into toads, and there's all different kinds of stages between these, the success rate of these spells. Here, if you look at the faces, they all look fairly serious, and like I said before, the sticks are very big. But we do have another layer of meaning in the Smith weight here, which brings in the possibility of them trying to build something together, and it devolving into chaos because of the lack of a leader. And that part, I feel, might be missing here, especially since the guidebook does talk about how the professors are leaving the students to their own devices and letting them figure things out by themselves. So the leader is basically willfully not present, but at the same time leaving space for them to make their own mistakes, which is a good, the way really to learn, learning by hard lessons, by making the mistakes you need to make. But I still feel the optimism between and the playfulness in these two cards that they both mention, and the whole striving for excellence, healthy rivalry. This book also mentions struggle, and fighting, but with a positive attitude. I do feel the same kind of energy between these, but I mean, you can read them quite differently if you were to read intuitively, just because they are different enough, but also similar enough that you can draw the same conclusions from them. So yet again, it does feel it kind of just shows you how much value you can get from having different decks in your shelf, where you can just and you can derive different meanings, but depending on how you want to read. So let's move on to the 5 of Visions, which is the 5 of Cups in the traditional, or in the Smith weight. I keep saying traditional. I need to get away from that. It's not it's traditional in my sense, because I haven't started reading with Marseille or anything older than that. So I just keep having a hard time seeing what I'm doing. I'm going to up the brightness just a little bit so that I can see to read a bit better. All right. So here we've got the 5 of Visions. And if we compare these two cards, first off, the 5 of Cups, we see this sad, lonely person standing here crying over these, or mourning these 3 spilled cups over here. And you can see that the liquid spilled out of them is red. So, I always laugh a little bit when I see this picture, because in his long cloak and his black hair and standing outside this castle here, I just can't help myself but see, a vampire standing here mourning over the spilled blood. I don't know why my mind goes there, but it's just the hunched shoulders up here and the long cloak and the mysteriousness of this person standing here with his back turned towards us. I just get this vampire feel from it. I have a very fond feeling towards this card overall. It's I think I like the aesthetics of it quite a lot. But you can also see a puddle here. It looks like these two cups were filled with wine, perhaps, and this one was filled with water. And I don't really know what the implications of that would be. I'm going to have to try and dive deeper into this card at some point and find that out. But in his I keep seeing this person as a he. In his mourning of these 3 spilled cups, he's completely ignoring these 2 cups that are still standing here behind him. And that's very indicative of how I usually read the 5 of Cups. Focusing too much on what has gone wrong instead of being grateful for what has gone right, for example. And comparing that to the 5 of Visions, we see here a woman running, or a girl maybe running down this path, and her golden ball is hitting the water, and she looks absolutely distraught about this. I keep feeling that it's sharper and easier to see in the book, so maybe I will just skip the cards for the sake of the video. So she looks very distraught about this golden ball falling in the water, and there's this frog sitting here on a leaf. What are they called in English again? It doesn't matter, Sandi. Lick it, let it go. Lily pad. That's what it is. But anyway, and it just looks like. You know, if we think about it in terms of fairy tales, this is most probably a frog prince, and I do have a vague memory of a fairy tale with a golden ball, but I cannot remember what it is now or how it goes. So I'm gonna have to look that up later. Anyway, let's read from the guidebook. Cursing her carelessness, a princess chases her precious golden ball down a forest path, watching helplessly as it splashes into the deep pool. Nearby, a smiling frog also watches. He knows that the story is about to change, for he is the frog prince, and the dropped ball is his ticket to bliss. It's hers too, though she doesn't know it yet. All she feels is disappointment at the loss of her toy. When she plops down on a damp rock in despair, the hero of the tale will take a froggy leap towards their future. Whatever your equivalent of the golden ball is, don't worry too much if you've lost sight of it. The really good stories take a darker turn before the happy ending. A temporary loss or unhappiness may lead to far greater gains in the long run. Your tale isn't nearly over yet. Meaning at a glance, a temporary disappointment, a pause in happiness, positive options remain. A closer look, sometimes frogs are royalty put under a spell, but you have to take their word for it. All the frogs in the Enchanted Forest can talk, so don't let that fool you. Ooh. And now when I'm thinking about it, I do believe that it is the classic tale of the princess and the frog that has the golden ball. I don't know why. I think it's early Saturday morning here, and I've had 1 cup of coffee, and I'm feeling a little bit blurry-eyed. So that's why I might be stuttering a little bit while I'm reading as well. But anyway, let's jump into the other guidebook and have a read. Blue for cups. Oops, we're jumping to the wrong one. There we go. 5 of Cups. For many, this represents the low point of the suit. A figure cloaked in black stares at 3 spilled cups. 2 upright cups stand behind it, and they may signify either what remains or new possibilities. Either way, the figure seems to avoid them. It's significant that tarotists cannot seem to decide if the person is male or female. In sorrow, we lose everything that distinguishes us. I like that part. But sorrow for what? What do the spilled cups represent? The obvious connection will be the optimism of the 3. Okay. Did the women prematurely assume their new community had established itself? If so, the rest of the suit shows the struggle to put things on a firmer footing, with the 10 a joyous result. But maybe the sorrow goes deeper. Maybe the cups symbolize everything lost in the collapse of the old. We cannot really begin until we come to terms with our grief. Divinatory meanings: sorrow at something lost or wasted, acceptance. Okay, that was interesting, how she brings in the 3s, and how maybe the 3 partying women in the 3 of Cups. It's such a small picture here, you can't really see it. But how the 3 partying, how the party may have gone wrong, or maybe they fell out or something. And maybe this is a sort of sorrow because of the I don't know, the falling out between the 3 women. I don't know. That's kind of a funny way of looking at this card. Comparing the 2, I feel like this one feels more positive because of the colors, I suppose. The sadness in this card completely comes from her upset face, and her seeing that her gaze is fixed on this ball here, and I do feel that the I mean, you can see that. What words am I trying to find here? It's the part where this one specifically kind of indicates that it's a temporary disappointment, a pause in happiness, and positive options remain. This does get indicated here as well, but this card feels a lot more gloomy, and Rachel doesn't really give us more here either. It just says sorrow at something lost or wasted, and then the acceptance of that. So I suppose the acceptance is moving on, turning around, seeing what you've got left, assessing. And I also kind of like how this card gives us the whole part of, you have the option here to turn around to see what's there, or to avoid them altogether, and just focus on what's there, what's right in front of you, things like that. I also, I like that both of them have the water element here as well. Obviously it's cups, but still, there's also this bridge to consider, and this castle here, which she doesn't mention in this little guidebook. I'm sure it would have been different if we would have read from the 78 Wisdom? Why is it called, the book? 78 Degrees of Wisdom. That's it. What else can I say here? I do have to admit, the first time I saw this card here, I was a little bit confused, mostly because I'm so used to this depiction. But reading through it now, I mean, I do understand the connection between the fairy tale, this particular fairy tale, and this card. You know, the disappointment of losing your ball and everything. It does feel like a much lighter card than this, because, you know, losing a golden ball, it's a toy, so it doesn't have... But then again, this is just 3 spilled cups as well. I don't know what my issue is here. It's like, for some reason... I mean, they're both symbolic, that's the thing. But for some reason, this one doesn't feel like it's as hard-hitting or as sad as this card might be. But at the same time, this one feels so gloomy and so over the top as well. It feels like, hey, you're standing here mourning over these cups, come on. So, anyway, I'm being very literal here. It's obviously symbolic, and it symbolizes something deeper because it's emotions, right? With the cups. I'm going to stop rambling about this card now and move on to the 5 of Challenges. I hope you got something out of that. I'm feeling a little bit scattered this morning. But anyway, 5 of Challenges we've got here, and that is the 5 of Swords. So, in the 5 of Swords, in the Smith Waite, we see this sneaky looking dude standing here with 3 swords in his hand, and there are 2 more swords by his feet, and then there are these 2 characters here in the background. This one looks really sad, almost like he's crying, and this one just seems fed up. I'm walking away from this situation. And this guy is just like looking back, and he kind of has, I read it as a smirk. I feel like he's smirking at these other 2, that he's kind of disappointed or made upset. Yeah, I can't see that as anything else but a smirk. But unless, I mean, it depends on the situation. It could also be concern or maybe regret. I don't know. And look, comparing that to this one, it's a completely different card, really. We see this giant holding ripped up tree. He's ripped up this tree by the roots, and there's this bird flying away from it, like it's been sitting there chilling out in the tree when he ripped it up. And if you look closely as well, in his beard we've got bones in his plaits or braids that he's put in his beard. That's kind of creepy. Wonder what those bones are from. Humans? Animals? Anyway, he looks kind of, I wouldn't say mean, just slightly pissed off. Oh, so it's like I have a slight difficulty reading this card intuitively, specifically in connection to the 5 of Swords. But so I'm very intrigued to see what the guidebook says. All right. 5 of Challenges. When you come upon a giant, it is safe to assume that he is not interested in anything you have to say. So save your breath for running. There are friendly giants, but they are rare in the general giant population, as are giants with a sense of humor. This giant isn't comical at all, nor is he a stereotypically stupid bumbler. He's dangerous not because he's evil, but because he is big. He also has a short temper, and he's giving you one chance to get out of his space before he deals with you. The giant signifies a situation in your life where you might be overestimating your chances against an opponent. Sometimes being quicker in an argument just doesn't work because the other will not or cannot engage in that way. Do not equate slowness with stupidity, and don't equate stupidity with harmlessness. Stay on the alert until you know who and what you are dealing with. All right. Meaning at a glance, overwhelming odds, a fight you can't win. Choose your battles and live to fight another day. A closer look, see the bones in his beard. Don't add yours to his collection. Ooh, chills. All right. Reading from the Little White Book. 5 of Swords. Some people see the prominent red-haired man and assume the card signifies some great triumph, or at least confidence. However, Pamela Smith drew this picture to illustrate the concept of defeat. Thus, we can focus on the 2 smaller figures who, like so many, turn their backs on us and walk away. The defeat here can refer to the losses and breakdowns of the old structures, but also as the collapse of the attempt in the 3. There are 3 figures here. To unite people in shared suffering. Rather than truth, the swords here symbolize conflict, possibly even destruction. The water is choppy, the sky is jagged with clouds, the world a mirror of our inner state. Some see the 2 smaller figures as different reactions to defeat. Both have lost their swords and become powerless, but the one nearest the water covers his face in shame or despair, while the other closer to us holds his head up and walks away. Divinatory meanings: defeat, dejection, feelings of weakness or shame. Ooh, all right, so we have quite the different takes on these cards. Really, but I mean, in the base meaning of the cards, you can definitely see the same, starting points, but I definitely read these cards very differently. We have a temptation to read this figure because it's the biggest one in the picture. It's the one where our eyes go to. So we have the option here to see it from both sides. We have the option of seeing this card, excuse me, as this guy taking whatever he wants and not thinking about the consequences, for example. But we also have, like Rachel says here in the book, these 2 figures, and that we should be focusing on these because we are thinking. I like the way she's explained how we can look at how we react to defeat depending on which one we are focusing on here. And it feels like this one speaks about the defeat already has happened. Like it has happened, it's a fact, and we now need to choose how to deal with it. Whereas this book talks about it's more as a warning, how this is on the horizon, how there are these overwhelming odds, there's a fight you can't win, choose your battle, and live to fight another day. It's like all of the keywords or the meaning at a glance here speaks about being careful, avoid this situation at all costs, assess what you're dealing with, and you know, don't assume things about your opponent, you know. Whereas this card speaks more to, like I said, about how this dude has already taken your swords. Now what are you gonna do? You know? So it's yeah, quite the different take, but I like it. I like how this one is different. Because again, how boring would it be if every deck we have read the same, right? So yes, let's move on to the last card of the fives, the Five of Boons. Okay, so classic Five of Boons here, or Five of Pentacles here, with this window here that I always really read as a church window, a stained glass church window, and we've got the Five Pentacles here, and we see these miserable, poor looking people hobbling outside this window in the snow, looking really cold and sad and in need of some warmth and comfort. And they are, instead of choosing to go in to the church to find warmth and shelter, they are just passing it by, essentially choosing to remain in their misery. And looking at the Five of Boons, we see a similar thing being depicted here. We see these two poor little children. I read them as children, or at least a tween or teenage brother with a smaller sister maybe, and they're sitting here sharing the scraps of the last piece of bread, huddling, sorry, that's the word I was looking for, huddling under this cloak together. And you can see here they're sitting here right in front of these luscious berries, but they're not eating the berries, they're just focusing on this moldy piece of bread. And then also, if you look further out behind them, you can see that the berries themselves form this path to this warm, inviting cottage. So if they would just, you know, look beyond their own little pity party over here, they would see the berries and they would lead them to some shelter here. So at least that's how I see this. And I think that these two read very similarly, very, very similarly. Although I do much prefer this depiction, if I'm being honest. I just, again, I will say this in every video, but I just adore Mirella Allwood's artwork, and she is the illustrator of this deck. So, Five of Boons. Two orphan brothers. Okay, they're both brothers. Never mind. Two orphan brothers set out from their sad and desolate home to seek their fortune. Oh, okay. Oh no, it doesn't mean this. Never mind, let's start again. Two orphan brothers set out from their sad and desolate home to seek their fortune, and now they are lost in the winter forest. It is growing dark. They huddle together in the snow, wrapped in their father's old cloak. They have only one scrap of bread left. The lads have been suffering for so long, they no longer believe that anyone will help them. They are miserable and hopeless and resigned to their fate. But look, just behind them, enchanted strawberries rise from the snow, a long trail of them leading to a snug cottage with warm lights streaming through the open door. You may think, who would miss something as obvious as strawberries in snow? But being beaten down and destitute makes it hard to recognize comfort when it is offered. Who knows how many miracles are overlooked? You may be missing one right now. Stop feeling sorry for yourself and look around. Meaning at a glance: poverty, need, feeling excluded from comfort, misery, self-pity. A closer look: finding strawberries in the snow is a task often given by spiteful storybook stepmothers. Magic fruit can only be found by those who are generous and kind. So yeah, the reading of this was pretty much what I could derive from the picture alone, and that is always a very good thing in a tarot book, or a tarot depiction, in my opinion. Let's read the Five of Pentacles. Here we see the other side of the inequality introduced in the Four. It's significant that we see them outside of a church. First, because the place of sanctuary seems to have shut them out. Many people have noticed that the picture shows a stained glass window but no door. But also because the three's vision of shared effort took place inside a church. Oh, that's true. All the fives show life's challenges, but this is one of the hardest. For the realm of Pentacles is that of money and the body. Do you see the bell around the man's neck? In medieval times, people with Hansen's disease, so-called lepers, were mistakenly thought to be so contagious that they had to wear bells to warn people to stay away. Thus, the picture represents not just suffering, but the return of ancient prejudices. We seem to have fallen far from the promise of the Ace. Divinatory meanings: hardship, suffering, feeling shut out, possibly because of prejudice, people, especially outsiders, supporting each other in hard times. Oh dear, I have never actually noticed this bell around his neck. That is so heartbreaking. And again, we've got a very differing view here. We've got self-pity and obviously ignoring or not seeing this opportunity of sanctuary and warmth, and being so swept up in misery that you miss out on these little miracles like strawberries in the snow. And then in this one, it feels now, when she mentions the lack of a door and the leper bell and all of this, this card took just a turn to the most heart-wrenching part. I just feel like, oh, these people have no option. They're just suffering silently here together, being a comfort to each other, taking care of each other, and being shut out by prejudice and the more fortunate people. This made me really sad now. And gave me a really much different view to this card than I have had previously. Yeah, that hit me really hard. So we've got very different readings here. Obviously, we have both poverty, need, feeling excluded from the comfort. Then we've got misery. They're both here. But then have self-pity. I suppose we can read self-pity here. I mean, maybe the door is just around the corner behind them and they've missed it. You can read it that way. I mean, there must be a door inside this building. But this one also, gives a very hard, dark feeling here of the darkness of the walls. It's very clearly that they are shut out. And this leper bell really did something to me. They are both so in need of help and kindness, and they're being shut out from the general population. Yeah. Oh, very, very interesting. So now we move on to the sixes. How are we doing for time? All right, so we've done 47 minutes. Let's see how long this one will become. So, sixes. The fives shook things up, and now the sixes calm things down. Each six speaks of success, peace, or at least respite. As always, the suit determines what form these take: magical, emotional, strategic, or tangible. The Six of Spells says congratulations and well done. The Six of Visions says follow your bliss back to its beginnings. The Six of Challenges says retreat and regroup. The Six of Boons says tender care is at hand. All right. So, Six of Visions. We've got Six of Visions. No, I've skipped a page. That's what I thought. Six of Spells. We've got Six of Wands here. And, So, I mean, in the Smithwaite, we've got this strapping young person sitting on top of a horse, holding this large staff with a victory wreath hooked on or hanging from it, and we see these people in the background, which we can kind of see as them celebrating him, I suppose. It looks like a victory train of sorts, like he or she is coming home from battle or from some other success, and the people in the village is welcoming them home, cheering them on. And in the Six of Spells, here we've got these wizards in what looks like maybe a tavern, and they are, this card just makes me think of Hagrid, you know, in Harry Potter, when he trades for a dragon egg in the tavern, and he gets Norbert. It just makes me think of that. But here we see these happy people cheering because this birth of this new dragon, and it's not at all as secretive or as taboo as Hagrid's Norbert being hatched. Anyway, let's read the card. Six of Spells. There's a new arrival in the forest. It's not easy to hatch a wyvern. Oh, of course, a wyvern, not a dragon. I keep mixing them up. But this intrepid wizard found an egg in an abandoned nest and brought it home to try. Generous doses of worry, magic, and love have yielded a successful hatching. Other wizards and witches have gathered to welcome the little one and congratulate their friend on a job well done. The new foster father's pleasure and pride in his accomplishment are made all the sweeter with praise from his peers. When people are secure in their own accomplishments, there is no jealousy or ill feeling when another has glowing success. Literally glowing in this case. Because the foster father knows this, he can accept congratulations as his due, with no false modesty or self-deprecation needed. Though you may never hatch a wyvern, be proud of your triumphs and drink in the praise. Meaning at a glance. Success, justifiable pride in accomplishments, validation by others, a supportive environment where your talents can shine. A closer look, the hatchling soaks up the adoration and emits a tiny puff of happiness. Aww. Alright. Moving on to the little white book. Six of Wands. As described in the 4, the middle 3 cards of the suit show communal scenes. Imagine a breakdown of society and then the emergence of a new energy. The 4 showed people finding community and hope. The 5 gave us excited but chaotic attempts to build something. In the 6, a leader emerges, a classic man on a horse, who inspires others to gather around him. He wears a wreath of victory on his head and carries another one on his wand. His horse is decorated as if for a parade, while the others walk alongside. While this card appears overwhelmingly positive, both the confident leader and his followers, the idea of tarot as a book of changes warns us that such moments carry danger. On a large scale, the desire for a great leader can lead to fascism, while on the more individual level, it separates the strong person from those around him. Divinatory meanings: optimism, triumph, the ability to inspire others, especially their trust and loyalty. Ooh, okay. So we have quite different takes on this card, coming from these 2 guidebooks. So here we've just got this notion of success and being praised for it and celebrating that success. And getting validation and support from others. Whereas in this card, we suddenly have a discussion about leadership and new leadership coming forward. And yes, there's victory. Yes, there's celebration of this victory and validation from others. But there's also this warning about how a strong person might take charge for the worse, and how a broken down society might be all too eager to accept this strong leader, and being wary of where you put your trust and your loyalty. This can be read in so many different ways, to be honest. Because you can also, like it says here in the divinatory meanings, just read it as, you have inspired others, or you are inspiring and helping others, and the ability to gain people's trust and loyalty. There's so many different ways to look at this. Yeah, not enough time to go through and dive deeper in this way, specifically when we're comparing these 2 right now. But yeah, definitely a lot of difference in how you can read these cards. Love the positivity of this one. Love the complexity of this one. Like how you can get such different perspectives from just this one card. Like, are you looking at it from this perspective, or from this perspective, or from my perspective as the onlooker of this card? So much. All right. 6 of Visions. Now we're getting here. And this has become recently one of my favorite cards in the minors, from the traditional or the Smith-Waite point of view. I think it's because I really love the Trionfi della Luna depiction of this card, and ever since that, then and also there's a really lovely depiction of the 6 of Cups in the Heartspun Tarot, and I've started appreciating this card so much. But anyway, so looking at this Smith-Waite version, we see here a little village depiction where this young person is handing this cup of flowers to this young girl here, and it kind of feels like this lovely childhood depiction of kindness being extended to this childhood friend of yours or something. And I believe this card usually speaks to nostalgia, or maybe I see kindness and childhood memories in this. I also see, suddenly now I see this god here standing, walking around, which gives it a little bit of a different, it's like, is he sneaking this cup to this little girl? Is he not supposed to give this cup to this little girl? All right. Looking at the guidebook. Is it just me, or is it just the angle I'm viewing at my phone? It looks like it's blurry, but I bet it's not. Anyway, this card is so precious. I love this, and this one, if anything, speaks so much to childhood. She's lying here in the grass, enjoying a good book, and it feels like out of this book all of these fairy tales have sprung. We've got the frog with the golden ball here. We've got a fairy flying out. We've got this gnome sitting on this toadstool. We've got this owl up in the tree here, reading a book of his own. I love that. And we've got this little fairy door in the tree here. And then we also have, look, a nod to the wind in the willows here with the mouse and mole, I believe, sitting in their boat going downstream. It's just fantastic. Oh, and look, there's also a face. Oh, can you see it for all the glare? There's also a face there in the tree. And there's a dragonfly, an actual dragon with dragonfly wings. There's so many details and loveliness in this card. I adore it. It makes me so happy seeing this card. So, Six of Visions. All in the golden afternoon, a child comes to her secret spot by the river, bringing her book and her imagination. She is absorbed, enchanted, blissfully lost in her beloved stories. She doesn't even notice the forest creatures and magical beings all around her, though it wouldn't surprise her to see they are real, for she believes in them fervently. These hours are the foundation of her lifetime's ideas about happiness. As long as she can find her way into the forest or lose herself in a book, she will always be the child with dreaming eyes of wonder. When we grow up, we're expected to put away childish things and settle down to take life seriously. But we are never too old to live an enchanted life. This card is a reminder that the child you once were is still a part of you. What was magic then is still magic today. All you have to do is open your mind to it. Your old friends from books and your imagination are close at hand, waiting for you to come for a picnic by the river. Meaning at a glance, memories of childhood, nostalgia, the way you were before cynicism or bitterness touched you. A closer look. Do you see the dragonfly? Oh, this description just made me love this card even more. I'm so happy right now. All right, let's read the guidebook. Six of Cups. Many find this card a little strange. Okay. In a cozy village, a figure dressed in bright red and blue hands a cup with flowers to a child who appears overdressed for the spring day. Oh yeah, she's wearing a lot of layers and gloves. That's funny. The whole thing may remind us of a fairy tale, in other words, a child's fantasy. The usual way people see this card is nostalgia, which is to say a memory of a happier time. But is it a memory or fantasy? Often, nostalgia glosses over the more painful aspects of past experience to create just a fairy tale fantasy of a past that never was. Danger comes when we don't realize it's a fantasy and try to avoid challenges by escaping into a past that never was. In the idea of cups, the struggle to create a new world, nostalgia can mean a look back at the old, a retreat into rosy memories after the failure shown in the 5. Divinatory meaning, nostalgia looking backwards, rosy memories. Okay, Rachel, you have a very much more cynical world view. No, honestly, she brings a fair point. And again, we've got such a different view of these cards, and I'm loving it. So here we see, I mean, just the epitome of a perfect day. Just being lost in your fantasy world. And escapism is, good for all of us at some point. But this description in the Little White Book by Rachel Pollack, we do get the warning message again. The warning that nostalgia and escapism isn't always the best course of action, and how nostalgia might result in bad things for the community as a whole. If we look at, for example, conservatives, if we were to look at this politically, we do get conservatists who always tend to say it was better in the old days when things were more conservative, more narrow-minded, more regulated, more. I'm not going to go more into politics in that sense, but nostalgia can do both good and bad in a society, and or I think nostalgia can do bad things in a society, but good things on a personal level. I mean, if we get wax lyrical and nostalgic over our childhood, I think it's a good way to remember how to be grateful about things. As a child, we had wonder. We looked at things. We'd wonder in our eyes. We looked at things and imagined fairies in the flower garden. We played and played make believe and had a very rich inner life. We could turn a boring rainy day into an adventure by building a fort. Things like that. And I think that we as humans would do well applying some of that playfulness and wonder into our adult lives as well. And then this card brings instead the point of view of being a bit cautious, looking at nostalgia from a completely different perspective, not at all bringing in this whole perspective, but instead looking at it as perhaps you are looking backwards too much. Perhaps you are not focusing on how to make the presence better. Perhaps you are perhaps you're remembering things wrong. I mean, in the sense that we are looking at this, there's something wrong and weird about this card, about how this girl is so dressed for winter when it's a warm spring day and stuff like that. It's like, are you being truthful to the situation, or are you looking at things through a rosy-colored memory? Or there's a lot of different ways you can read this. Again, so interesting. Moving on to the 6 of Challenges, we've got the 6 of Swords. And here we've got this classic depiction of 2 figures in a boat being ferried by this other person. We've got the 6 swords standing upright in the boat here, and we're moving away from this stormy water towards this more calm water over here, indicating that we're moving away from a situation an upsetting situation, moving away from it to a more calm situation. And perhaps this indicates us getting, are we the ferry person, or are we the people getting ferried? Are we getting help, or are we the helper, so to speak? Here in this card we see a different story unfolding. We have this woman sitting high up in the tree, wiping the sweat off her brow, having narrowly, having narrowly escaped this pack of wolves chasing her. Look at those fearsome claws and teeth. Ooh, and she's very nearly just escaped this situation, and she's taking a pause, a little break to breathe out and calm herself and gather her wits. So, let's read from the guidebook. Phew! That was a near escape, far too close for comfort. Dwarves don't usually climb trees if they can help it, but this dwarf scaled the ash tree as nimbly as a squirrel when the wolves started chasing her. There's no need for her to plan what to do next, since she can't fight a pack of wolves. She needs to just wait them out. When they have lost interest in her, she can hurry home to a well-earned supper. When you are pursued by slavering wolves, the wisest course is to get out of their reach as quickly as possible. This card suggests that you should consider such a strategic retreat, perhaps an actual retreat away from home or work for a time. Give yourself a respite from strife. Rest, recover, and plan your next step. Meaning at a glance: retreat, deliverance from a dangerous situation, waiting for danger to pass, a chance to regroup. A closer look: wolves in the mundane world aren't menacing, but these are old world storybook wolves, notoriously big and bad, and they will eat you up. All right. The Six of Swords from the Little White Book. The original book for this deck, by Waite, gives the meaning for this card as Journey by Water, Route Envoy. Most people find something deeper in the mysterious picture. A woman and a child sit huddled in a shallow boat, the woman bent over and cloaked, the child tight against her side. Behind them, a man with a black pole, like the fool's stick, pushes the boat through the still waters to an island in the distance. Everything is silent, subdued. Who are these people? Refugees from a dying world? Do they seek sanctuary? Are the swords they carry upright as if stuck in the boat, memories of what they've lost? There is another, more mythic possibility. In Greek myth, a ferryman named Charon carried the dead in such a boat from the living world to the next. Are they literally dead? Victims of a collapsing world? Maybe they represent the painful transition, conscious of what was lost, not yet in the new. Divinatory meanings, sad memories, difficulty letting go of the past. Yeah, I did think about Charon and the river Styx at some point in another reading that I made. But yeah, that's a very good point here. Being, a ferryman ferrying somebody over, and it gives this card again such different and varied ways of reading it. All just depending on the situation, obviously. But they both do carry this similar vibe. They're getting away from a danger or from something. It's just this one just seems a lot sadder. Something bad has happened to these people and they're going away. They're being ferried away. Or maybe they are also escaping. That could also be the case. They're escaping. They're choosing not to engage. And that's what she is doing here as well. Choosing not to engage in whatever is distressing them. And I think that's, that's the very key similarity between these two. And also, taking that time to rest, taking time away to think of things through, to wait the situation out. That's, definitely in both of these cards. However, here we also have the sad memories and difficulty letting go of the past. This is not part of this. This is a very practical, immediate situation. This is a situation that's occurred. She's taking steps to get away from the situation. There is nothing in particular here. Unless you choose to read the wolves as memories. You could do that. You could read the wolves as memories hunting you, but instead of dealing with them head on, you're escaping up a tree and avoiding dealing with these memories. And essentially facing them head on in order to let them go. Ooh, that's cool. That's a really good way of reading this card as well. I'm so happy. I'm so happy I'm doing this now. Yes, awesome. Love that. All right, and the last card is the Six of Boons. I just love this depiction. It's so beautiful. And the Six of Pentacles. Look at these bunnies. They're just cuddling up to her. I love it so much. So we're going to start with this card. Look at this. She's obviously cold. She's lying here on the ground in the frost. You can see that there's these snowflakes here, and the leaves are all frosty, and she's got no shoes on, and these little bunnies are just warming her up, huddled up against her and protecting her against the cold. It's such a comforting card. And then we've got the Six of Pentacles. Here we've got this kind of merchant type dude standing here with his scales, weighing out how much he's going to give to certain people and not to others. And he's kind of presenting as being kind, but I can also read this card as him being, sensible for his own sake, but he's being reserved in his giving and his kindness. He's giving money to these beggars here, and yeah, I'm curious to read what Rachel writes about this. Anyway. So, Six of Boons. Something made this woman run from her home. Something fearful enough to send her fleeing into the frosty forest in her bare feet. In her panic, she has lost her way, and the light snow is obliterating any trace of her tortuous footprints. There is no way to go back, even if she wanted to, and no path forward that she can see. The night is drawing in, not knowing if she will wake again, and not caring very much either way. She curls up in the cold earth and surrenders to exhaustion and despair. A quiet patter of paws on snow sifts into her dreams, and soft warmth surrounds her. Seeing her dire need, a colony of rabbits blankets her with love. There will still be trials to overcome when she awakes, but she will make it through the night. There is kindness to be found even in the bleakest situation. The world is full of gentle furry creatures with big eyes who want to help and comfort you. Be ready to receive unexpected assistance and selfless care. Your situation is about to get softer. Meaning at a glance, help graciously offered and gratefully accepted, generosity, benevolence, caritas. A closer look. Rabbits have a reputation for shyness, but they will overcome it when necessary. Oh, I love that card. All right, and let's see about Rachel's points of views. A man in the guise of a merchant, as Waite described him, gives coins to a beggar while another waits for his turn. Though the two of on their knees are clearly not the same pair, as on the 5, a line runs between the two cards. We have seen how the 6s bring order and restore optimism after the breakdowns of the 5s, leadership in wands, kindness in cups, leaving defeat behind in swords. Here we see an antidote to the 4 and 5 of Pentacles, and yet charity can be limited as a response to suffering. Many people have pointed out that the two have to beg on their knees while the merchant seems to measure out the coins. The balanced scales, however, point to something much deeper than counting coins. They evoke justice, the pivotal card of the major arcana. Justice is vital here, for without it all, our practical steps will just recreate the old world. Divinatory meanings: kindness, charity, someone who acts in a just way, asking for help. Okay, so nothing all too sinister here in this card. He's just applying justice in his kindness, and I mean that's fair enough. That's good, and a thoughtful way of doing it. Then again, we do have this begging people here. I don't know. Again, you can read this in a lot of different ways, and I feel like we do have very similar themes here: helping graciously, generosity, kindness, someone acting justly. I mean, we don't really get the justice part in this card. Or the asking for help, really. She's not asking for help. She's just found in dire need, and the rabbits are just, without being asked, helping her out. Here we have these two people begging for help from this man. So yeah, I really also like how she ties into the other previous cards in this write-up. I'm gonna have to study this even closer and bring out all the other cards to have a closer look at them later on at some point, because I have a hard time actually fully understanding what she means sometimes when she refers back to other cards. But yeah, really interesting. And also, these two cards just give such different vibes, don't they? This one gives a sense of comfort, whereas this one just, you kind of just feel the how the world is unjust, and how I suppose you also get that from here. She's escaped from something. She's run away from something. Is in such a desperate need that she forgot her shoes. So I suppose she's in a dire place because the world is unjust. And she's found kindness in the forest. And they have found kindness from this guy. Yeah. So much to talk about and not enough time. But anyway, I really hope that you've enjoyed this episode of the Exploring the Enchanted Forest series. Please let me know what you thought about these cards and the differences. Make sure to comment down below your thoughts, or if you just want to say hi, it's always nice to get a comment or two. So thank you so much for watching. Please take care of yourselves and have a great day, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye bye.